This is Derek O'Farnwell with The Medicine Show, and today I'm going to discuss 8 reasons why your ancestral manifestations are not working. This video will not only help you make your New Year's resolutions more effective, but help you understand how to use the ancestral sciences in manifesting a new reality for the new year. And in the end, I'm hoping this will shed light on what the relationship between us and our ancestors look like, according to Odinani Ndi. Now, a lot of people have given up on New Year's resolutions as a whole. So my question for this video is, do you make New Year's resolutions? Or are you making a resolution this year? Or do you not even bother? If you're making a resolution this year, or you've already made one, comment with the letter A. If you don't believe in resolutions, or don't plan on making one, comment with the letter B. Now, if you want, you can also share why you chose A or B. I'd be interested in seeing what everyone has to say, or maybe even hearing some stories that you've got relating to New Year's resolutions. And even if you don't believe in them because they haven't in the past, this is definitely the video to watch. If you're new to this channel, hit subscribe. I make videos that break down and demystify Odinani, or Igbo spirituality and cosmology, as well as history and culture. This video is somewhat of a part 2 from the previous Ichuaja Explained, where I explain why sacrifice is done by practitioners of Odinani, as well as in the realm of spirituality worldwide. So if you're interested in that topic and you haven't seen it, the link is below. But there are 10 very important reasons or mistakes that people make that keep their ancestral work or manifestations from working. And after identifying them, I've decided that the subject deserved its own video. Patrons also get access to the 13 moon Odinani calendar with the 4 market days, which is important because in this video, you'll see that some rituals work better on some days over others. I've started to expand my collection on writings on conjure, Kemetic studies, Obe, Santeria, Voodoo, and Ifa. So if you're interested in learning about those systems as well, it's all in the e-library. Patrons also get access to the 13 moon Odinani digital calendar with the 4 market days, which is important because, as you will see in this video, some rituals work best on specific days, and other rituals do not work at all on others. All this is available at patreon.com/themedicineshell. Now, the second thing I wanted to announce, I am officially offering one-to-ones. I came to find that a lot of what people were asking the Dibia was not necessarily Dibia work. There were questions I could have answered for them, or there was no question at all. It was just more so a need for clarity, which I can most definitely help in that aspect, using a one-to-one session app known as People Talk. The link is below, and you can ask a one-off question with the app, or you can schedule a 30-minute one-to-one. But of course, if we need to go a little bit over, I'm very okay with that. Now, if you need to understand your current situation spiritually from an ancestral perspective, or maybe you feel that you have the calling to be a Dibia or some type of calling you're not able to decode, or you're receiving messages that aren't 100% clear and you want to know what to do next, or maybe you have general questions about Odinani and Igbo spirituality, as well as how to apply these principles to solving internal and external conflicts, and feel that a solution rooted in ancestral science will be best, you can schedule a meeting at peopletalk.com/themedicineshell. And like I said, the link is below. And so that is peopletalk/themedicineshell. Pricing is different for AZ tier patrons. So if you're an AZ tier patron, message me first. I'm very proud to say that the company reached out to me not too long ago, and the Medicine Shell will be one of the first adapters of the platform. I was given the opportunity to be a part of the contribution process as far as helping them customize it to the best possible customer experience, as well as experience for the teachers such as myself. So again, that's peopletalk.com/themedicineshell. The last big announcement, I am currently working on a documentary. It is my next documentary, and the topic will be the Ekumeku resistance waged in the Anyama region of Igbo land against the British Empire. But this documentary will go a lot further than that. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to explore secret fighting societies and cults of resistance, not just in Igbo land, but in North America, the Caribbean, South America, and throughout the African continent. So if you're interested in seeing this documentary, you can help us reach 300 patrons by joining patreon.com/themedicineshell. This is my first documentary since the Osu Explained video, which I've linked below, and I'm going all out with this one. I'm very confident you'll be happy about the final result. And with that being said, let's begin. Everything you want has a shadow. There are things that you have classified as unwanted, which you may wish away at your altar. There are things that you classify as wanted, which you may ask your ancestors for. But in both situations, there's also something that you are asking for, but you're not aware of. There's something that is unknown to you, unless you give it critical thought that you're also wishing away, but you may not be 100% aware of when you're doing it. Because according to our ancestors, all things come in twos. The first part, which is self-evident and willed, and its shadow, a parcel of it that is as classifiably bad as the other part is good, or is as good as the other part is bad, meaning that when you are given, something is taken, and when you want something taken away, something is given, or room is made for something else as a result of your sacrifice. One of my subscribers summed this up very well in a comment he left for the last video, so I'll just read it here. Just to piggyback on the case you point out in this video, any person can say they want something. Only a few can show they really want that thing. You've been praying for rain but can't deal with mud. You want to be a celebrity but can't deal with the lack of privacy that comes with it. You are desperate for children, but do you have the patience to deal with impatience? You want to be married, but are you divorced from selfishness and pride? You want to go to heaven, but are you ready to go through hell? Being conscious of the full scope of what you seek is key to making sure that your manifestations work when you do ask for a new thing in your life, or wish to repel something that is presently there but unwanted. And if there's something you can walk away with based on what I'm saying, the advice I have to offer is that an individual should be ready to sacrifice what they like about a problem before going to their altar and manifesting that problem away. An individual must accept and understand what they don't like about a solution or a blessing before going to their altar and asking for the positive end of that. In the end, an individual's reality is a composition of inputs. According to our ancestors, the cosmos is a combination of forces, all self-interested and moving in the path that their chi created them to move. All things in nature are doing exactly what they want to do. On a natural level, on a community level, a community is exactly what the people in the community want it to be. And on an individual level, you as a person are exactly the person you want yourself to be. There may be things about yourself that you do not like or want to adjust, but an unwillingness to sacrifice the thing that it is tethered to, which you do like, keeps that thing anchored in your person in life. Many of the problems a community faces is tethered to many of the things the community wants for itself. And while oftentimes we can complain or observe the negative side effects, in the end, both something we cherish and something we do not want will have to be identified as linked and equally sacrificed if a change is to be made. Everything you experience as a person is a result of what you will into the world. And oftentimes what we like about the positive result of a situation makes us complacent about the negative, or makes it difficult to muster the will to rid ourselves of the negative. The issue is summed up in the ilu, Mine Bunwangi Bumine Gango, or the water that drowns your child is the water you'll drink. So oftentimes your manifestations are work, but if you think of a manifestation like a plant, think of what you don't like about it as the top growth and what you do like about it as the root. Now here's an example of how all of this plays out on a practical level. When I would do my igofo, I would sometimes ask for peace and success. Now here's the issue. While peace sounds nice, peace is a cementing of the status quo. Still water has peace. And in order for you to attain success or anything new, there has to be a disruption of that status quo. And that will always come with some sort of conflict, whether external or internal. So when I ask for peace, I am negating what is necessary for success, or I'm wishing away success. Unless I already see myself as a successful person, and the maintenance of the status quo would be necessary for me to maintain that state of being. So therefore, if I want a new reality for myself, I cannot be wishing for peace, but rather preparedness for the journey ahead, which will sometimes require battling or conflict. So rather than peace, I've been manifesting patience, because even in a time of conflict, patience is the peaceful embrace of stormy waters and is the type of peace necessary to reach the other side. My son's godmother was actually just telling me a story right when I was in the middle of recording this, so the timing is by no means an accident. But she has made it a goal to relocate to Africa for a very long time. She's somebody I would identify strongly as a Pan-African. So while she's by ethnicity Sudanese, she's lived in Ethiopia, and she has connections all throughout the continent. So she recently came back from Ghana, and she was telling me about how she was asking her ancestors to show her the way. You know, that's just what she asked for them to show her the way. Well, immediately after this, she had her car repossessed. She had a relative call and cuss her out. And this is a very close relative and one of the people that, from what I've seen, she takes care of a lot when the opportunity is presented here in the U.S. She even said that the minute she landed back in the U.S., her skin started breaking out. But while she was in Ghana, she has very smooth, like rich black skin. And somebody identified her and wanted her to be a part of their photo shoots as a model. Just out of the blue. And all these things were happening. And then all of a sudden, she got this letter back from somebody she spoke in Ghana, offering her a job to work with the AU there and relocate to Accra and so forth. And she had gone through such a storm with everything prior with the repossession and the family conflict and so forth, that by the time the opportunity was offered, there was really nothing tethering her to the U.S. anymore. So her asking for the road or the way to be cleared took away her car and even drew a clear boundary between her and her family that she didn't draw prior, but was necessary for her to reach the next level of what she was looking for. So oftentimes when we manifest these things, they're going to come as both good and bad. And the presence of bad or the presence of loss or struggle or hurt does not mean the manifestation is not working, but it is the left foot that has to move forward in order for the right foot to enter the door. Reason number 2, you are asking for things or you are manifesting on the wrong day. In Igbo cosmology, the world is broken into 4 houses. And these 4 houses are also the 4 days of the Igbo calendar. Eke, Orie, Afo, and Nkwo. Now, based on the day you were born, one of these days is the house you belong to. This house is shared with different Abara, different members of your own spiritual world, known as Ndutu, and the ancestor which incarnated as you. The day you are born is your market day. And in the Igbo community, each community has its own market which bears one of these names. And this market unites it with the other 3 markets in the area, or the other 3 communities in this area, so that on Eke Day, if your community hosts the Eke market is open, and everybody has to come to Eke market to shop. And all of the sellers from the other communities will come to the Eke market to sell. On Orie Day, the Eke market will be closed, and everybody will shift to the Orie market. Then Afon and then Nkwo, creating a cycle by which every single community has a day by which it gives and receives. And this is no different for manifestation and ancestral work. If you're dealing with an Abara, you have to know its day, because that is the day its market is open for sending and receiving. And I can break this down on a video on the 4 market days. So if you want to see a video on the 4 market days, comment below. But your specific day is going to be the day by which you send and receive into and from the universe, because that is the day that your celestial market is open. There are different apps for figuring out which day is your market day. There used to be a website, but I think it got taken down. So once I find a reliable app, I will share it with everybody on this channel on my 4 market day video. But once you find out your day, I provide an Odinani calendar so that you can get the 4 market days on your Google Calendar and lets you know what day each day is and so forth. So if you're interested in that, join the Patreon. Now, earlier I said the Abara have their own days as well, and some people feel connected to one force of nature over another. If you are interfacing with a specific force, it is very important to do that interfacing on their day, especially if the interfacing requires some sort of exchange. Either you are asking for something to be done or you are offering something to the force itself. And oftentimes when you seek solutions from a Dibia or an Ezengwa, the rituals provided will have specific day requirements. For example, this solution can only be implemented on Afo and so forth. So knowing which day is your day and knowing the day of the force you are interfacing with if you are manifesting with an Abara is important in assuring that these things work for you as a person. Number 3 is that you are not in righteous standing or you have not kept to your Afo. In the ancestral view of justice, justice is delineated by a principle of 2 things, Afo and Ogun, together known as Afo and Ogun. Afo is an oath by which justice is built, typically symbolized by a rod or a staff, with Ogun being the retributive or balancing principle of the justice or of the Afo. When an individual is born, they make a pact with creation to keep a certain Afo or a certain set of principles by which they will live when they are on earth. When these principles are kept, they are protected on a celestial level by the Ogun of that principle, of that pact. Or put simply, just living shields you from injustice. Unjust living blocks you from justice. Or as the Ilu says, fire cannot cross the waters to kill a frog. At the same time, because your Afo is a pact you made with creation, acting outside of your Afo breaks the accord you have with creation, and therefore makes it more difficult, if not impossible, to receive what you want from the universe. Your Alfondo, sometimes known as your Iuwa, your universal stream, serves as a relationship balancer between you and creation, to the extent that even that which is on your path and that which has been created for you or left on your path for your chi cannot be received if you are not in righteous accord with your Alfo or with creation itself. When an individual is reincarnated, their Onyuwa, the parcel of their spirit which reincarnates, returns to their chi. Their chi then gives them their purpose for existing and the path by which they will walk when they are on the earth. After this is given, the chi and the Onyuwa return into creation, or Eke. From there, they negotiate the terms by which they will live on the earth. Eke allows an individual to receive what their chi has left for them, so long as they keep to the Ofo that they then receive upon agreeing to live a righteous life once on earth. Now, on a very day-to-day level, we can look at the example of parents and children. In most cases, it's very hard for a child to knock over your TV and then immediately turn around and start asking you for ice cream. Or a parent can send a child on an errand, and instead of doing the errand, the child then starts asking for something else. Now, all this is subjective, and everybody parents the way they want to parent. But most often, or most typically, the child has a better chance of receiving things that are additional from the parents if they're not knocking over TVs, if they're actually doing what the parents ask them to do. It is much harder for a child to ask for, I don't know, an Xbox if they come home with good grades, rather than if they come home in the back of a police car. But again, styles differ. I've seen some things in my life, so yeah. Now, if an individual's ancestors have sent them to do something very specific, and rather than doing it, you are going to your altar and trying to manifest or asking for something else, you have come into conflict with your ancestors. And oftentimes, the good will not be received, or the thing you're wanting will not be received until you do the very specific thing your ancestors ask you. For many individuals who are destined to become Is and Y or Debias, their lives are usually marred with a lot of failure, a lot of struggle, confusion, frustration, and even challenges with mental health. And this is because their Agon, which is also that Onyowa that I spoke of earlier, has come into the world to do a very specific thing, which they themselves are not doing. Now, typically, in order to end these challenges, an individual will perform a ceremony known as Iragon, or working with Agon, sometimes referred to as making peace with Agon, where after an individual accepts their calling, the things that they were previously trying to do but were meeting a lot of frustrations with suddenly become a lot easier and more attainable, since that person has held their end of the accord or has kept to their awful. It is also important to remember that in the Igbo world view, justice and morality, or an individual's principles, has a particularly close and inseparable relationship with the idea of responsibility, meaning that just or righteous behavior is the keeping of a responsibility, or the keeping of a pact, or keeping of your word. So that if I am a father, or I call myself a father, my capacity to act as a father is what makes me just or principled. Now, all things, just like individuals, come into the world the exact same way, with an awful, meaning that if I'm calling myself a father, that declaration is an awful, and there is an ogun that comes with the authority. If I am executing my duties as a father in a correct way, I will receive, maybe say, the respect from my spouse and child that is accorded to a father. I will hold my household together, and in general, my household will be protected by the ogun of my righteous behavior, or my keeping of the responsibility. If I'm not keeping the awful of fatherhood, my household will fall apart. My children will not respect me. My spouse will want nothing to do with me. An individual's capacity to keep awful on one level of receiving opens them up to receiving on a higher level. So returning to the parent analogy, now let's say a parent has multiple kids, and after a while you realize one is responsible enough to clean up the household when you're gone, to shut the TVs off at a certain time, and to take everybody else to bed as well. Because that child has shown responsibility, more responsibility is typically placed on them. And that responsibility, or awful, also comes with a certain set of authority, so that after a while, this child becomes the leader because they are able to act as a leader. Now, when you approach your altar, there are several awful that are connected to you as a person. and there's the all-fall of the various blessings and responsibilities that you have received in the world. If you are not in righteous standing with those all-fall or your own all-fall, to ask for more from your altar, your ancestors or creation itself cannot and will not give you more, as the all-fall is handed to an individual for the purpose of being a custodian. The universe will give you in order for you to take care of its children with what is given. But the ability to keep Akan Kumoto begins small, when an individual is able to keep the all-fall of the various relationships and titles they have taken on themselves, be it daughter, student, Christian, Muslim, honest, or brave. The keeper of their principles, or the holder of the Akan Kumoto, becomes the hand by which the universe trusts to receive great power and great things, as they are more likely to use it in custodianship or care for the rest of humanity and others. Very similar to how an individual will give a babysitter the remote and the keys to the house, and maybe even access to a little money. Now, that remote, the keys, and the money are not necessarily for the babysitter, but rather for the babysitter to execute the responsibility of taking care of the children well. So that if your ancestors give you wisdom, that wisdom is for the service of the family. If your ancestors give you wealth, that wealth is for the sustenance of the poor. If your ancestors give you height, that height is for the protection of the short. If your ancestors give you love, that love is to teach you how to spread it to the unloved, and so forth. So that all blessings in the ancestral realm are an all-fall, including the blessings that you currently have, or the identifying markers of you as a person. And if you are keeping to that which you have promised to keep, the universe will open so that you can receive more. This concept is known as Akan Kumoto. Akan Kumoto is a principle or a philosophy that states that the upright hand is the hand that is prepared to receive blessing, meaning that an individual who is just, righteous, and responsible, as all three of these things are connected in the ancestral worldview of a just person, is a person who is capable of handling responsibility. Now, if you also understand that blessings and responsibility are tied together by our ancestors, this is also the person who is capable of handling blessings. And thus the universe puts things in the hands of that person because they are capable of using it for the service, the care, and the upkeep of the rest of humanity. A person who has Akan Kumoto is a person who has the universe's trust because they have righteous behavior and are just. And this is reflected on a community level, as this person typically has their community's trust, on a family level, because this person will typically have their family's trust, and on an individual level, because that person will typically trust themselves. What is typically done in this situation is that before making a manifestation or before asking for something at your altar, there's a declaration of worthiness to hold that thing. This is often done by listing negations that affirm the quality of your character, such as, I have not stolen, I have not taken what is not mine, I have not harmed another or wished harm on another, I have not taken what belongs to the gods of the land, I have not associated with people of ill character, and so forth. Next is that you're asking too often. According to the practice of our ancestors, the process of asking for something or manifesting something is the initiation phase of bringing that process into existence. It is the very first step an individual will take to clear onto the universe the desire to bring forth a new reality or push away an existing. For this reason, things are asked for once. As it is said, the first thing you say is the one your chi hears. After asking once, if you wish to continue building on the manifestation, you can do so by asking for it more indirectly, such as by saying things like, what we will shall come into fruition, what we say will happen shall happen, what is in our heart shall become our reality, and so forth. You can also use returns to the altar as a way of reaffirming your Akan Kumoto, or your worthiness of receiving the blessing, due to your just and upright character. But asking for the same thing again restarts the process. But because asking or declaring for the first time is the beginning of the process, every time you redeclare or remanifest the exact same thing, you're restarting the process of bringing it into fruition. An alternative you may want to try is breaking down what you want into steps and manifesting each step rather than the sum total of the project. So for example, if you want a new job, you can start by saying my application will be responded to. Once responded to, you can then say I'll get this interview. Once you do the first interview, you can do the second. And nowadays you got like 7 interviews. So I did 7 interviews to work at like a anyways, yeah, you can just keep doing it for every single phase of the process. Another alternative is saying it once, leaving it alone, and like I said earlier, reaffirming your worthiness of having that thing. such as doing the negations I used in the previous reason. My hands are clean. I wish no harm on others. I care for those around me and so forth. The next reason is you or the people around you are being protected from what you seek. Now, if you would have given me $1 million when I was 19, a lot of people would have been in trouble, including myself. I remember how reckless I became after going from making $12 an hour to $16 an hour. And now that I'm older, I couldn't imagine receiving some type of windfall at that age. And ultimately, what is taught consistently in our ancestral tradition, that the main thing an individual should ask for is wisdom, because it is wisdom that allows you to receive things in a positive and beneficial way. Without wisdom, many things received can destroy you. Without wisdom, you can use the things you receive to destroy the people around you. And without wisdom, you may not even understand what a blessing looks like when it's in front of your face. So oftentimes, an individual's ancestors will protect them from receiving beyond what their wisdom can hold. And this is pronounced in the Ilu. Igwa onye nwere isi ilu, ọ ga-agọta. Igwa onye nzuzu, ọ ga-adafu n'ime ọfịa. If you tell a wise person a proverb or an Ilu, they'll understand. If you tell a fool, they'll dive into the bush or they'll be lost in the forest. One of the reasons things take time and age to manifest is because an individual's level of readiness to handle it, once received, is very dependent on their level of wisdom. But ultimately, and even in the ancestral context, the wisdom acquired by age can always be surpassed by the wisdom of a young person committed to learning and bettering themselves. And this is expressed in the Ilu, Nwata na-ejegharị ọfụma kara onye isi awọ amanye. A well-traveled child is wiser than a gray-haired man. The next reason is that you are rude. And by this, I mean that there's a very specific way the ancestors are spoken to, approached, and treated. And failing to follow this accord is actually going to cause more problems in the relationship between you and them than anything. When doing any type of ancestral work, it is important to remember that your ancestors are your ancestors. These are elder people that lived before you, and the rules of conduct with them is ingrained in whichever culture you find yourself born into. And no matter what culture looks like today, it is very important to approach the ancestors as they would have been approached in their time, as it is respect that affords a child the audience of adults. When working with ancestors, it is not so much about what you personally believe, but the middle ground between you and your ancestors, and most importantly, what your ancestors themselves believe. If you had ancestors that were devout Christians, you may want to cover up. I myself, my ancestors are Igbo, and I know that it would be improper for me to go speak to them without presenting kola, without saying de before I say their name, or na, or ne, without greeting all of them, or all of them in attendance before I begin speaking. Even down to the fact that when I'm presenting something, I'm going to present it with my right hand, and I'm going to use my left hand to hold my wrist as if I'm offering the whole of my hand. Because in my culture, that is how you present something to an elder. Common customs and accord was a lot more important for people before us than they are for people now. And for most of them, regardless of your culture, if somebody is not approached the right way, the conversation cannot proceed or begin. I don't know if you guys have seen that show on HBO. It's like a really old show called John Adams. It's about the second president of the United States, John Adams. And before he was president, he was sent to Europe on a diplomatic mission to get the European countries to start supporting the American project when they were trying to get independence. Well, one of the scenes that was very interesting, or that I liked a lot in this series, was that he would go to these different courts. So he would go to the French royal house, he would go to the English royal house, and he went to a group of, I want to say, Dutch merchants and so forth. And he would always approach them in the American way, which was to say exactly what you came to do, right? So the meeting starts and you say, all right, so today we're here to talk about blah, 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 which is very normal in America. But everywhere he would go, they would look at him like he was out of his mind, because where they were from, there was an entire protocol you had to go through before you started speaking about what you were going to do. When he went to the French, he had to sit there and eat and joke and spend the entire day hanging out with people before he can finally, at the very end, mention the business he came to do. That drove him crazy. He went to the English, and before he can talk to the king, he had to do this very specific walking ritual where he curtsies over here, takes 3 steps over there, does another bow, takes 3 steps in the other direction, does another bow, and then begins addressing the king and so forth. So this is an example of how a lot of us approach our ancestors. A lot of us speak to our ancestors as if they are our peers or our contemporaries, or they're from the culture that we're from, understanding that culture changes over time. And like with John Adams, for us, this is a big mistake. Now, understanding the fact that the mentality of your ancestors and their customs is going to naturally be different from your own, it is then easier to understand when you are receiving messages, who you are receiving these messages from. Making the connection is not possible without standing on the common ground of common custom. But by approaching your ancestors as your ancestors, their voice becomes a lot more clear. And you realize that a lot of those things floating around inside of you are messages that you were not ready to receive until you're ready to speak to the ancestors as ancestors. The next reason is perhaps you are asking your ancestors for the wrong things. In Odinani Ndibo, ancestors are counsel and not servants. And in fact, in the relationship between you and your ancestors, it is you who is the servant. It is not your grandfather that you're going to send to the market to get you bread. Rather, he would be more likely to send you. You're not going to come into the house and tell your grandmother to start cleaning, but she might come in and notice that you've kept things on the floor that she told you not to. And therefore, it is best to ask your ancestors for what an elder or a senior is optimally placed to give, and that is counsel and wisdom. This is often done by switching the language of what you're saying at your altar. So rather than saying, I want to receive this, or I'm trying to receive this, you can say, I'm going to do this. If it is not for me, give me a sign. Or I want this in my life. If it is not in my path, let me know. Or I'm embarking on XYZ and I need you with me. Or I need your wisdom. Or I need your insight. In the relationship between Mado and Mo, or person and spirit, spirit is more optimally placed to provide the intangible, such as wisdom, vision, focus, purpose, things that are felt. Whereas Mado, the person, is optimally placed to provide action. And it is the combination of those things, or the relationship between the two, when moving as a left and right foot, that make the journey that much more powerful. In the worldview of our ancestors, all things have a spiritual or non-physical component and a physical tangible component, and both are equally necessary for things to happen. So if the physical wants something, the spiritual does not, that thing cannot come into fruition. If the spiritual moves in a direction and the physical does not provide work, or does not give that direction form through action, that will not come in fruition either. So oftentimes asking your ancestors to be with you, asking your guides to protect you, or entering a task or mission with both body and spirit makes an individual's manifestation that much more powerful and effective. But oftentimes we can only do within the physical. Approach the spiritual in the correct way to assure that the spiritual does what it needs to do as well. Or as the Ilu says, let us sacrifice so that when things go wrong, we can blame the spirits. And that's it. Before I sign off, I want to give a big thanks to all of the patrons that make this channel possible. If you haven't joined already, go ahead and go to patreon.com/themedicineshell to support this channel. And big thanks to those who are doing it. Adaku Utah, Adelake Nabombioka, Akachi Lamb, Amechi Ekufu, Amaka Adog, Amanda Johnson, Andrew Anyanwu, Anthony, Aya Anelli, Bissy Life, Celeste Richmond, Sessa Salam, Shantae Thompson, Chara Williams, Chelsea E, Chief, Chinyere Njokwiri, Chika Okorafo, Chike, Chimoge Ibe. By the way, that's the guy that did the analogy on the, that did the analogy about the, crash test dummy, but I think he actually used like animal experimentation as an example as well. Like when you experiment on animals for scientific testing and things like that. Chinedu Akunne, Chino M, Chris Abani, Chukudubem A, Chukuma Bartholomew, Cozy, Crystal, Demisha Smith, Ememe, Nelson Okobi, Netter Arts, Ngozi Onoha, Nia, Nick Crenshaw, Nina Nwafia, Nnamdi Ezuku, Nwaka, the Igbo Cyber Shrine, Ofora, Okechukwu, Ebizie, Oloma Okpara, Olisaemeka Okapo, Rachel Nwokoro, Ross Jones, Sack Alexander, Sarah Nwafo, Sharika Regina, Stan, Stephen Chin, the Homegirl Healer, Uche Abweze, Uchenna Campos, Urenna Kara, and Whitney Brianna Thomas. Thank you. Now, a lot of people have given up on New Year's. Yeah, I love you too, Nandi. Okay, yes, she is. Okay. Now, a lot of people